During finals week of fall semester, my family came to visit. The Mobounds arrived full force. The 5 Cincinnati Mobounds were joined by the 4 representatives of the New York contingency. The noise pollution created by the 9 of us traipsing around Israel was, in and of itself, astounding. Since everyone had already been to Israel, we decided to skip a lot of the touristy stuff and explore Israel through the eyes of their quasi-Yerushalmi tour guide, me. This flexible itinerary led to 4 individual visits to the Old City. On one such visit to Ha'ir Ha'atika, we satisfied a craving for hummus at Abu Shukri and stumbled upon the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Immediately upon stepping into the church, I noticed the countless pilgrims placing their hands, crucifixes, and even souvenirs upon the stone of the unction. According to tradition, the stone of the unction is where the body of Jesus was anointed and prepared for burial. I stood transfixed, watching people struggle to get as close as humanly possible to this sacred space in order to transfer some of the power of the place to their own lives. The same parallel can be made to how many Jews feel a desperate longing for God and Beit HaMikdash as they approach the Kotel, purposefully searching for a tiny crack in the stones in which to place their prayers for luck, peace, and refuah shlema. Just as the stone of the unction serves as a sacred space to the pilgrims who venture to the church, so too do we have sacred spaces as Jews. However, unlike the idea of simply transferring the power from our sacred places through some sort of holy osmosis, we try to actively engage in the sanctity of the space itself. We don't have sacred spaces that exist without the interaction of the Jewish people. In fact, we as Jews try to imbue our own spaces with power by interacting with them and actively making them sacred. The Kotel is not a sacred space because the stones it was built with so many years ago are inherently holy. Instead, it is because of the way the Jewish people interact with the space that makes it so special. There is, of course, a biblical precedent to support this idea for sacred spaces. In trying to understand sanctity in Judaism, we can reflect on one of the most famous verses of this week's Torah portion, Terumah. In Terumah, we see the Israelite people receive instructions to prepare a sanctuary for God. God says to Moses, "Va'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham." Let them make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. Often people focus on the last word of this verse, b'tocham, and not b'toch hamikdash or b'tocho. God will dwell among the people, not within the sanctuary. Why would God wish to dwell among, or even within, the Israelite people? The conversation about where God wants to dwell is fascinating, but the key word for me is va'asu, make. Make for me a mikdash. Having just received the commandments and luchot ha'even, the stone tablets, on Mount Sinai in last week's portion, Mishpatim, the Israelites couldn't just build any old tabernacle. Instead, Parashat Terumah outlines in painstaking detail all of the elaborate contributions the Israelites needed to bring to the building of the tabernacle. Moses is supposed to collect gold, silver, copper, blue, purple, and crimson yarns, fine linen, goat's hair, tan ram skins, dolphin skins, and acacia wood from the Israelites. Oh, and then they have to build the mikdash. This seems like an awful lot of work to dedicate to something. In Avot Rabbi Natan, a 6th century midrashic collection, we learn that the operative word in the verse is va'asu. He writes, va'asu, Gdola malacha she'af hakadosh baruch hu lo hishara shechinato al Yisrael ad she'asu malacha shenomar va'asu li mikdash v'shechanti b'tocham. And make a great labor that the Holy One, blessed be He, would not even place His presence on Israel until they did this work. As it is said, make me a sanctuary and I will dwell among them. Sacred moments and sacred spaces don't just happen. They have to be constructed. If we focus on what needs to be done before God will dwell among the Israelites, we know that there needs to be something given, a highly symbolic contribution of fine materials and hard labor in order to earn God's presence. Instead of simply receiving God's presence, there must be a great asiyah, or doing, in order to earn this incredible gift. This concept isn't foreign to us. As we try to distinguish a shvanah from a shvanah, we work hard to carry Torah with us every day. It is through this effort of study and knowledge that we earn Torah in a very powerful way. But the word in the parasha isn't ve'aseh, it's ve'asu. Let them make for me a mikdash. God doesn't tell Moses to make a sanctuary single-handedly. Instead, it is only the efforts of the people of a community working together that will be sufficient. Early Zionist and favorite Chalutz, Aleph Dalet Gordon wrote, Ha'am tzarich lehibarev etzelem Elohim. The people must be created in the image of God. This is different than the version we learn in Genesis. Vayivra Elohim et ha'adam b'tzalmo, b'tzelem Elohim bara oto. God created man in His image. In the image of God He created him. How incredible that not only was the individual man created in God's image, but that the people as an entity must be created in God's image. With this notion, Gordon is calling on us to take on the responsibility of behaving in the image of God. It is not enough for each of us to strive for God or to try to earn Torah. We must work as one people in order to accomplish our task of preparing for God a sanctuary. We cannot just experience holiness, even when we find our work tiresome. Even when the exhaustion of hilarious and meaningful hours spent playing tour guide to your family finally hits. Even when we've seen so many binyanim and dageshim, our heads are spinning. We can support each other and make every effort towards earning Torah count. Only then will God dwell betochenu, within us. So, Tobi.